Welcome to Stuck, Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff, and I want startups to be wildly successful. We're going to have one of my favorite topics today because Mel Lambert from the Kirkwood Public Library is here, and we're talking about library resources for startups. Thanks so much for coming, Mel.
Thanks for having me, Mary. I'm super excited to talk about all the cool things libraries do for startups.
Anybody who's starting a business, your first stop, don't go anywhere else first. The first stop is your public library because they know stuff. They know what questions to ask, which you may not have an idea of. So let's talk about some of those resources now. What are some of the major things that people always need to get from you folks?
So I think to start, just like you said, asking the librarian is your first step because we don't know everything, but we know where to find all the good information. So when you come, ask us a lot of questions. We love getting questions and we'll help point you in the right direction. And some of the things that we have at libraries all across the St. Louis area are industry data. So looking using digital resources like Statista or industry reports that we have access through places like IBIS World. We have access to those reports. Reference solutions, which can help you kind of get an idea who your competition might be in the market. And simply analytics, which helps you find market data, and Statista can help you find market data too. So really those digital resources that you have access to with your library card for free are really where you want to focus your efforts.
And I have to say, Mel is representing the St. Louis area, but every librarian in every library across the country has access to some of this stuff. And sometimes it's the very basic stuff. Like you ask, I want to start a business. What do I need to do? And the librarian can tell you where you go in the county municipality to register your business, what kind of financials you might need for this sort of thing. Um, what other kinds of permissions or permits or licenses you may need. So those are the other things that librarians are fabulous for.
Yeah, and especially in smaller libraries who may not have access to a lot of these databases or this marketing data, they'll be able to point you to, like you said, census data, like even census data, but also just who in your community is connected and doing startup.
Sure. And who else what other organizations there are locally that have to do with your industry? Because
Right.
sometimes you need to find collaborators.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what libraries are really good at is being connectors in our communities and saying this group is doing this or hey, this group meets at the library. Have you ever talked to them? And getting people together.
Right. And speaking of meeting at the library, you don't just get information there, you can occasionally get a conference room. So
Yeah,
talk about the
absolutely.
benefit of that.
Yeah, so a lot of libraries have conference rooms or meeting rooms. Some libraries, especially larger libraries, even have small meeting rooms where if you wanted to book like a one-on-one meeting with a client and meet with them, you could have a smaller kind of study room. But meeting rooms and conference rooms, most libraries have those open to the public and you can book them. Um, so look into what your local library is offering on that front.
Yeah, so if you need to do a workshop to educate potential clients about what it is you do or what it is you're selling, libraries are a great place to have that workshop. And sometimes the library will ask you to run a workshop because it fits in with a certain theme for the month, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Librarians love when people who are really the expert on a topic come in and say, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this program?" maybe there's something coming up like National Small Business Month, and we didn't really have an expert that we knew, and you just fit in right with that programming for what we want to do at that time. Or it makes us think, hey, the future, this is coming up. What can I do that would be a really good fit for that?
So it's all about connecting members of the community and making sure everybody knows about each other and those kinds of things. I really love libraries. They are such a wonderful resource, and that's your taxpayer money at work, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And, when you do a program at the library, it has to be free and open to anyone who wants to attend. But that's the great part of it, right? And that's why libraries are such a trusted source, is that we're never trying to sell you something, is that we just want you to have that information or that educational tidbit that will get you to the next level.
Okay, and so what are some unusual resources people might not think about that they can find in the library?
So people know we have books, but for some reason, a lot of people don't realize we also have digital books, so audio books and ebooks. We have apps. A lot of libraries use Libby or Hoopla that you can download and have free audiobooks at your disposal. We also have a lot of libraries have skilling up products. So, like for example, here in the St. Louis area, St. Louis County and St. Louis Public Library have access to LinkedIn Learning. And that's free with your library card. So you can log in and you can use it and you can stay up to date on whatever it is that you're trying to do. And then really some of the cooler stuff is tech that you can check out. So like at my library, we have computers and hotspots, but we even have like a pop-up tent and outdoor screen. So if you were selling something and going to an event that was outside where you're going to be selling something and you didn't have a tent, you could check out a tent with your library card and sell your products at that event. We also have scanners and printers that you can check out. So come tax season, you haven't entered any of your stuff in, you can check out a scanner and, spend all those time putting in those receipts that you forgot about for the last, quarter or year.
Well, you can borrow equipment from the library too, not just
Yes.
books. And you can potentially check out software before you buy it to see how it
Yes.
works.
Yeah, absolutely. Their
And
libraries are doing really cool things these days.
yeah, my favorite thing is ask a librarian rather than Google. Google can be very frustrating, but if you ask a question in plain English or plain Spanish to a librarian, that person is going to know exactly what to put into Google to get you the answer you need rather than something that's all full of information you don't need.
Yeah, absolutely. We are Google experts, I guess. And we know how to find, when you type something into Google and it gives you back all this information, sometimes you don't know what's good information and what's bad information and what to include. And that's why we're here. We are trained to be able to find what is the relevant information and what is the good information and not just something that somebody made up and put on the internet.
I bet you can even come up with AI prompts that avoid as much hallucination as possible.
Yes, a lot of libraries are starting to use AI. I was just talking to one of my coworkers at St. Louis County. We were texting and he was telling me what he was doing with Google Gemini on finding information. And I've used ChatGPT, so we are using a lot more AI to kind of narrow things down and figure out what's good, what's bad.
Well, thank you so much, Mel Lambert. We'll put contact
Uh,
information for the Kirkwood Public Library and some other libraries in the comments. And wherever you are in the country, check out your local library. You will not regret it, and it will save you so much time and money in the long run. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary.
And I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful. And one of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a call with me at businessriff.com and join us again next time for Stuck, Time to Improv.